My name is Alina, and I'm 23 years old. Imagine standing in a crowded office, your heart pounding, your dreams hanging by a thread, and then hearing your own boss laugh as he tells you, "You were just not pretty enough to represent this brand." That's exactly what happened to me. The whole room went silent. My hands trembled as I held the product catalog I'd spent months designing. I'd stayed up nights perfecting every layout, every logo, every caption for the launch of Aurelia Beauty, the luxury skincare company where I worked as a junior designer. And now, right in front of the entire team, my boss, Ethan, dismissed me. Not for lack of skill, not for poor work, but because, in his words, I wasn't the kind of face that sells dreams. I remember the laughter that followed. It wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to cut through me. My coworker, Sierra, the company's social media star, smirked and whispered something under her breath that made the intern snicker. I wanted to disappear. My throat burned, my eyes watered, but I refused to cry in front of them. Instead, I smiled, a broken, shaky smile, and quietly walked out of the room. If you want to see how this story unfolds, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more unbelievable stories of betrayal, revenge, and transformation. When I got home that night, my reflection in the mirror felt like a stranger. I kept replaying Ethan's words. Not pretty enough. What did that even mean? I wasn't glamorous like Sierra, sure. I didn't wear designer clothes or post perfect selfies. But I was talented. I was passionate. Still, no matter how many times I told myself that, the pain didn't fade. It grew. The next few weeks at work were torture. Sierra became the new face of Aurelia Beauty's rebranding campaign, the one I had designed from scratch. She was everywhere, on posters, on billboards, on the company's social media. And every time I saw her posing with that fake smile, pretending she was the creative mind behind it all, I felt something inside me snap. I stopped speaking much at work. Ethan barely looked at me unless he needed something done urgently. He'd started introducing Sierra as our brand ambassador and creative consultant, conveniently forgetting I had been the one who built everything she was showing off. The final straw came one Friday afternoon. We were preparing for the official product launch, and I overheard Ethan telling a group of investors, "She's got the perfect look for our image. That's what matters in this business, not some plain designer sitting behind a desk." I froze. My stomach twisted. I wanted to scream, to tell them the truth. But instead, I quietly gathered my things, walked to the restroom, and broke down in tears. In that moment, I decided something. I was done being invisible. A few weeks later, I quit my job. Ethan didn't even look surprised. He just said, "I wish you the best, Alina. Maybe you'll find a place that suits your style." His tone dripped with mockery. Sierra smiled, waving at me like I was a defeated contestant leaving a reality show. I walked out of Aurelia Beauty's glass doors feeling humiliated, but also strangely free. That night, I stayed up researching everything I could about skincare branding, influencer marketing, and small business growth. I didn't have their money or status, but I had something they didn't: creativity, authenticity, and a burning need to prove them wrong. So I started my own small brand. I called it True Skin. My concept was simple: real beauty, real people. I didn't use models or filters. Instead, I featured everyday women, each with a story of their own. At first, it was rough. I worked from my tiny apartment, mixing sample products, learning packaging design, handling orders, and posting daily on social media. No fancy photo shoots, no expensive PR, just honesty. And something incredible started happening. People related to it. Comments poured in from women saying they finally felt seen. Orders trickled in. Then, suddenly, one of my TikTok videos went viral. A behind-the-scenes clip of me packaging orders while talking about how I was once told I wasn't pretty enough to represent beauty. That line hit people hard. Within weeks, True Skin became a movement. My follower count exploded. I started getting collaboration offers from influencers who loved my message. And the best part? I started believing in my own worth again. But just when I thought I had moved past the pain, fate decided to play a twisted little game. 3 months later, I got an email from Aurelia Beauty's marketing team. The subject line read, "Partnership opportunity with TrueSkin." At first, I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. They wanted me, the same girl Ethan had said wasn't pretty enough, to be the face of their new campaign. And the person managing the outreach? None other than Sierra. When I opened that email, my hands actually went cold. I read it 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Dear Alina, we at Aurelia Beauty have been following the amazing success of your brand, TrueSkin. We'd love to collaborate on a cross-promotional campaign to empower real women and redefine modern beauty. Please let us know if you'd be open to discussing a partnership. I stared at the signature at the bottom. Sierra Lane, head of marketing, Aurelia Beauty. The same Sierra who'd laughed when Ethan said I wasn't pretty enough. The same Sierra who took credit for my designs. Now she was asking me for help. For a solid minute, I couldn't decide whether to laugh, cry, or throw my laptop out the window. If you're watching this and already feeling that sting of poetic irony, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more unbelievable real-life revenge stories like this one. I took a deep breath and composed a calm, professional reply. Hi, Sierra. Thank you for reaching out. I'd be open to discussing the details. When would you like to meet? I hit send, but my heart was pounding like a drum. A few hours later, she replied almost instantly. We'd love to meet you this Friday at our headquarters. Ethan will also be joining the discussion. I froze. Ethan. The man who broke me in front of everyone. And now he wanted to partner with me. I smiled to myself. No. This wasn't just a meeting. This was fate handing me my chance to rewrite the story. Friday arrived faster than I expected. I wore a cream blazer, minimal makeup, and a calm smile. My assistant, Kara, insisted on coming with me. She was like a younger sister, fierce, loyal, and incredibly smart. As we entered the familiar glass building of Aurelia Beauty, memories flooded back. The humiliation, the tears, the long nights I'd spent proving myself for people who never saw my worth. But this time, the receptionist stood up the moment she saw me. Ms. Alina, welcome. They're expecting you in the executive lounge. Ms. Alina, not the intern, not the assistant. I wasn't invisible anymore. When I walked into the lounge, Sierra's smile faltered for a moment. Alina! Oh my God, it's been so long, she said, forcing a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. Ethan turned from the window, his expression carefully neutral. He looked older, the sharp arrogance dulled slightly by exhaustion. Maybe business hadn't been so good lately. Alina, he said slowly, extending his hand. Congratulations on TrueSkin. I'll admit, I didn't expect this kind of success from someone who left so suddenly. I shook his hand, my expression unreadable. Thank you, Ethan. I guess we both had some surprises waiting. Sierra jumped in quickly. So, the idea is simple, a joint campaign between TrueSkin and Aurelia Beauty. We want to show unity, empowerment, and authenticity. I smiled slightly. Authenticity. That's funny coming from you. Her eyes widened for a second, then she laughed awkwardly. Of course, I mean, we've all grown, right? I let her talk, about how Aurelia wanted to rebrand, how their sales had dropped, how they needed someone with real influence. Finally, Ethan leaned forward and said, We want you to be the face of this collaboration, Alina. You'd represent both brands. Imagine, your story, our platform. It took everything in me not to burst out laughing. He said I wasn't pretty enough. And now, he wanted my face to save his company. I sat back and smiled. That's an interesting offer, I said calmly. But I'd need full creative control. and final approval on all campaign materials. I want the concept to focus on real women, not artificial perfection. Ethan hesitated. That's unconventional. I leaned forward. That's authenticity. Isn't that what you're paying for? After a tense silence, he nodded. Agreed. Sierra forced another smile, her fingers nervously tapping the table. Perfect. We'll send over the contract this week. As I left the meeting, Kara whispered, "You're not seriously going to work with them, are you?" I smirked. Oh, I am, but not the way they think. I wasn't going to just partner with Aurelia Beauty. I was going to expose them, their fake image, their hypocrisy, and how they built their empire by tearing women down. And I was going to do it on the biggest stage possible. 2 weeks later, the campaign shoot began. It was surreal, being back in their studio, standing where I once cried in humiliation. But this time, I wasn't the assistant behind the camera. I was in front of it. Sierra hovered nearby, pretending to direct. "Can we try a little more smile, Alina?" I gave her the kind of smile that said I already won. The photographer loved it. Perfect. That's the look. Strong, beautiful, real. When the shots were released online, they exploded across social media. Everyone was talking about True Skin x Aurelia, how the collaboration symbolized growth and second chances. But no one knew what was coming next, because hidden in that same campaign, I had embedded the truth, a story that would shatter their perfect image forever. The morning the campaign went live, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Mentions, tags, comments, thousands of them. Everyone loved it. Finally, a real face in beauty. This message is everything. True Skin is changing the industry. But buried among all the praise were comments that made me smile for a very different reason. Isn't this the same company that used to body shame employees? Wait, didn't someone leak an old clip of their CEO mocking his staff? The whispers had started, and I had started them. If you're watching and can't wait to see how this revenge unfolds, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more shocking real-life stories where karma hits harder than anyone expects. 2 weeks before the campaign launch, I had quietly hired a small PR agency, not to promote, but to investigate. They dug into Aurelia Beauty's past, unpaid interns, manipulated ad photos, fake testimonials, and one especially ugly story. The viral clip of Ethan humiliating me years ago had been caught on camera by a former intern. It had never surfaced, until now. I'd planned everything down to the second. The collaboration wasn't just a rebranding campaign. It was a confession wrapped in glitter. Each photo and tagline subtly hinted at truth. Phrases like, "Beauty isn't owned by the powerful," and "Your worth doesn't need permission." And the video ad? That was my masterpiece. It opened with me sitting in front of a mirror, no makeup, saying, "Years ago, someone told me I wasn't pretty enough to represent beauty. I believed them, for a while. Then I realized real beauty doesn't ask for approval. It just exists." At first glance, it seemed inspiring, empowering. But if you looked closer, behind the visuals, the video contained hidden messages, real employee testimonies, screenshots of internal memos, and a faint watermarked quote in the background from Ethan's old interviews. "Looks sell more than talent." It was subtle, but people noticed, and social media exploded. Sierra called me first. "Alina, what did you do?" she shouted. Her voice trembled between panic and fury. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked sweetly. "I just shared my truth." "This isn't empowerment, it's sabotage. The board is furious, Ethan's in crisis meetings, the press is demanding statements." I let her rant. I could almost hear the sound of her perfect facade cracking. When she paused, I said quietly, "Maybe next time you shouldn't build a brand on lies." And I hung up. By the end of that week, Aurelia Exposed was trending worldwide. The leaked clip, Ethan mocking me in that meeting, had gone viral overnight. Millions watched as he sneered, She's not pretty enough to represent this brand. People were furious. Customers began boycotting. Influencers dropped partnerships. Major retailers pulled Aurelia Beauty from their shelves. And TrueSkin? Sales tripled in 3 days. I went from being a forgotten employee to the face of a movement. But it wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about taking back every ounce of power they stole, from me and from women like me who were told they weren't enough. During a live interview, a reporter asked me, "Alina, do you regret exposing them?" I smiled. No, because truth isn't destruction, it's clarity. Sometimes you have to burn down the lies to let something real grow. That quote became the headline everywhere. Ethan resigned a week later. Sierra tried to distance herself from the scandal, but screenshots of her mocking me resurfaced. Brands stopped working with her. And as their empire crumbled, mine flourished. A month later, I got another email from an unknown address. It was Ethan. "I underestimated you, Alina. You turned pain into power. I hope someday you'll forgive me, but I understand if you never do." I read it twice, then deleted it without replying. Forgiveness wasn't what this story was about. It was about respect. The irony still makes me laugh sometimes. The same man who told me I wasn't pretty enough? Now, my face, the one he dismissed, was everywhere. Billboards, magazines, talk shows, brand features. And beneath every photo, the same tagline I wrote myself. "Not pretty enough, the beauty revolution." It became more than a slogan. It became a movement. But just when I thought the story had reached its end, something unexpected happened. An invitation that would change everything again. A global beauty conference reached out, asking me to be the keynote speaker. And guess who else was on the guest list? Sierra. When the email arrived, I almost laughed. The World Beauty Innovation Summit, one of the biggest global industry events, wanted me to be their keynote speaker. The theme? Redefining beauty in the modern age. And right beneath my name on the speakers list, in bold letters, was Sierra Lane, former head of marketing, Aurelia Beauty. I could almost hear the universe chuckling. If you're watching and can already feel that poetic twist coming, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because what happened next was more satisfying than any revenge I could have planned. A week before the event, I arrived at the conference center for rehearsals. It was massive. Hundreds of booths, banners, media teams, influencers, and business owners from around the world. My name was everywhere. Keynote speaker Alina Perez, founder of TrueSkin. People stopped me for selfies. Reporters requested interviews. PR teams offered sponsorships. And then, just as I turned down one of the marble corridors, I saw her, Sierra. She looked nothing like the woman I remembered. The sharp confidence she used to wear like armor had dulled into forced politeness. Her designer heels clicked against the floor, but her eyes darted nervously when she spotted me. "Alina," she said finally, walking up with a stiff smile. "It's been quite a year, huh?" I nodded. "Yeah, guess we both got famous, just in different ways." Her fake laugh cracked halfway through. "Look, I know things got messy, but I just want you to know, I had no idea Ethan was saying those things back then." I tilted my head. "Sierra, you laughed when he said them." Her face froze. She opened her mouth, closed it again. "I was young, stupid. I thought playing along would help me keep my job. You know how this industry works." I could tell she was desperate. The once untouchable Sierra was now clawing for dignity. But I wasn't there for revenge anymore. Not the petty kind, anyway. "Maybe," I said softly. "But you also had a choice, and you made the wrong one." Before she could answer, a stage assistant called out, "Ms. Perez, we're ready for your mic check." I smiled at Sierra one last time. "Good luck on your panel." Then I walked away. The next day, the auditorium was packed. Bright lights, camera crews, flashing banners. I sat backstage, listening as the host introduced me. Please welcome the woman who turned rejection into revolution, Alina Perez. The crowd erupted. As I stepped onto the stage, my hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. I looked out at thousands of faces, all waiting to hear my story. I started slowly. 4 years ago, I worked for a company that told me I wasn't pretty enough to represent their brand. A quiet murmur spread through the audience. I believed them. I hid. I changed. I tried to fit into their version of beauty, until I realized beauty doesn't belong to anyone. It's not a product. It's not perfection. It's truth. Applause. But when I left, I made a promise to never let another woman feel like she wasn't enough. That promise became TrueSkin. I could see Sierra sitting near the front row, her face pale under the lights. I continued, and to every person who's ever been told they didn't look the part, let me remind you, success has no mirror test. The audience stood. Cameras flashed. Tears streamed down a few faces. It wasn't just applause. It was a reckoning. After the speech, I walked off stage shaking. Kara hugged me tight. "You killed it," she said, grinning. "You didn't just speak. You burned the old standard down." As we walked through the backstage crowd, I spotted Sierra again, standing alone, arms crossed, pretending to scroll through her phone. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She walked over and said quietly, "You really made your point out there. I hope you're happy." I looked at her. Really looked. This was the woman who once believed power came from being perfect. Now she was just another cautionary tale in a world that finally cared about something real. "I'm not happy because you lost," I said. "I'm happy because I finally stopped needing people like you to believe in me." Her eyes flickered, and for a moment, I saw guilt, maybe even regret. She opened her mouth to reply, but a producer rushed over. "Ms. Perez, Vogue wants an exclusive photo shoot. They're waiting upstairs." I smiled politely at Sierra. "Excuse me. Some people still think I'm not pretty enough." Then I turned and walked toward the flashing lights, the cheering voices, and the life I built from everything they tried to destroy. But this wasn't the end. Because the next morning, something happened that threw me into a storm I never expected. A scandal that threatened to take down TrueSkin itself. Success can be loud, blinding even. But sometimes, behind the applause, there's silence that hides knives. 2 weeks after the conference, TrueSkin was on fire, in the best way. We had just signed a partnership with one of the biggest eco-beauty distributors in Europe. Orders were pouring in faster than we could handle. But amid all that noise, something felt off. If you're watching this and you've ever felt that uneasy calm before everything falls apart, hit like and subscribe, because this is where my story takes a dark turn. It started small. One of our shipments went missing, then another. Customer complaints about delayed orders piled up. Kara, my right hand and best friend in the company, promised she was on it. "Just logistics chaos, Alina. Growing pains," she said with a reassuring smile. But a few days later, one of our major retailers called me directly. "Ms. Perez," the manager said carefully, "I just wanted to confirm. Did TrueSkin change its formula recently?" My stomach dropped. "No. Why?" "Because the last batch we received smells different, and customers are reporting skin irritation." I froze. That wasn't possible. Our formulas were 100% natural, triple tested before every shipment. That night, I went to the warehouse myself. Everything looked normal, except one section of stacked boxes had unfamiliar labels. When I opened one, my heart stopped. The products inside weren't ours. They were cheap, diluted copies, fakes, branded under TrueSkin's name. Someone had replaced our original inventory with counterfeits, and the files on the office computer confirmed it. Unauthorized orders, altered invoices, fake vendor contracts, all of them signed digitally, under Kara's login. I didn't want to believe it. This was the same girl who stood by me through everything, the one who cheered when TrueSkin hit 1 million followers. But when I confronted her, she didn't even deny it. We were alone in the office, moonlight spilling through the blinds. "Kara," I said, my voice shaking, "tell me this isn't what it looks like." She sighed, folding her arms. "Alina, I did what I had to. You're getting too big, too fast. You don't see it, but everyone's waiting for you to fail." "What does that have to do with you betraying me?" She looked away. "I wasn't betraying you. I was protecting myself. Sierra offered me a deal before the conference. She wanted insider info about TrueSkin's suppliers, formulas, contacts. I said no at first, but then she offered more." "Sierra," I whispered, disbelief turning to fury. "You worked with her? She said it was just business. She wanted to start over, and I thought maybe we could all win." I felt my heart twist. "By selling me out?" Her eyes hardened. "You're not the same anymore, Alina. You talk about empowerment, but all you care about is power. You used to be like me." I took a deep breath, fighting the tears burning behind my eyes. "You're right," I said finally. "I was like you. I thought kindness would protect me. It didn't. So I built armor instead." She looked down, guilt flickering for just a second. But the damage was done. By morning, my legal team had traced everything. Kara had been sending confidential data to a private company, one recently purchased by none other than Sierra Lane. It all made sense. Aurelia Beauty might have collapsed, but Sierra wasn't done. She wanted revenge, her version of it. She couldn't destroy my image, so she tried to destroy my brand. The news spread fast. Blogs ran headlines like, "TrueSkin under fire for alleged counterfeit scandal." Did empowerment icon Alina Perez know about fake products? Every word felt like a dagger. I didn't sleep for days. Every time I looked at my reflection, I saw the same pain I'd once felt years ago. That helpless ache of being humiliated by people who underestimated me. But this time, I wasn't going to let them win. I called an emergency press conference. My PR manager tried to talk me out of it, saying we needed to wait for the lawyers, but I refused. If my brand was built on truth, then I had to face this with truth. Standing before a sea of cameras, I took a deep breath and spoke from the heart. Yes, there has been an internal breach at TrueSkin. Yes, counterfeit products were distributed without authorization. And yes, I will take full responsibility for fixing this. Flashes erupted. Reporters shouted questions. But then I said, "And to the people who tried to turn honesty into weakness, you forgot one thing. The same truth that can destroy you can also set me free." That clip went viral instantly. Later that night, as I sat alone in my office, I got a notification on my phone. A new message. From Sierra. It said, "Nice speech, but this isn't over yet. You took my career, my reputation. Now I'll take everything you've built. Watch me." I stared at the screen, my pulse hammering. For the first time in years, I felt the same chill I'd felt that day in the Aurelia boardroom. But this time, I wasn't that scared girl anymore. This time, I was ready for war. The message from Sierra hit me like a punch to the chest. "Now I'll take everything you've built." I stared at it for a long moment, thinking back to every insult, every betrayal, every time she and Ethan had tried to tell me I wasn't enough. Not this time. If you're watching this and feeling the heat of a battle you thought was over, hit like and subscribe, because Alina's about to turn the tables in ways no one saw coming. I spent the next 48 hours digging deep. Our internal logs, email trails, supplier records, nothing escaped my attention. I realized something important. Sierra had underestimated me. She didn't just want to sabotage TrueSkin, she wanted me to react emotionally, to make mistakes under pressure. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I built a counterplan. Step 1. expose her network. I traced all the fake shipments and traced them to an anonymous shell company. Following the breadcrumbs led straight to an email address registered to Sierra. Step 2. Regain control of the narrative. I coordinated with my PR team to release a statement, not defensive, not accusatory, but factual. TrueSkin remains committed to quality, transparency, and empowerment. The recent counterfeit products were part of a deliberate attempt by outside parties to damage our brand. We are taking immediate legal and operational action to secure our supply chain. The media ate it up, but the real game changer was step 3, social proof. I reached out to loyal customers and influencers who had been affected. They shared their TrueSkin experiences online, posting photos, testimonials, and unboxing videos of authentic products. Every share, every post, every story reinforced one undeniable fact. TrueSkin is real. Sierra's sabotage is fake. By the end of the week, the hashtags had flipped. TrueSkin authentic. Sierra exposed. Empowerment over ego. Meanwhile, I decided it was time to confront Sierra directly. I arranged a virtual meeting under the guise of settling internal issues. She logged on, smirking, probably confident she still held leverage. I started calmly. Sierra, I know what you did. I know who you contacted, who you paid off, and how you tried to destroy TrueSkin. Her smirk faltered slightly. And? You think you can stop me? I leaned closer to the camera. No, I'm not stopping you. I'm showing the world who you really are. Before she could interrupt, I shared live screenshots of her emails, payment confirmations, and vendor contracts. Everything she tried to hide, every attempt to undermine me, was now laid bare. Her face turned pale. I could almost see the panic through the screen. You can't, she stammered. I smiled. I can. And I did. The next morning, the fallout was immediate. Sierra's LinkedIn account was flagged. Former partners came forward, revealing their own dealings with her. The press wrote headlines like, Sierra Lane attempted corporate sabotage, TrueSkin triumphs. From betrayal to victory, Alina Perez exposes industry saboteur. Aurelia Beauty, already weakened, officially cut ties with her. For the first time in years, I felt that calm, intoxicating satisfaction that comes from winning a battle you were told you'd never survive. But the victory wasn't just professional, it was personal. I spent that evening reflecting on the years of pain, the humiliation, and the constant doubts. I realized that my true revenge wasn't seeing them fail. It was proving to myself, and the world, that my worth was never determined by anyone else's opinion. And as I looked out my office window, overlooking the city lights, I felt a peace I hadn't known in a long time. I wasn't just the girl who was not pretty enough. I was a founder, a leader, and a woman who had turned betrayal into triumph. But the world has a way of keeping the story alive. 2 days later, an unexpected email arrived. This one with no name, no signature, just a subject line. You think it's over? I opened it slowly. Inside was a video, a compilation of old company footage, including moments I didn't know were recorded. Someone had captured everything. Every secret meeting, every strategy discussion. The message was clear. Even though I had won against Sierra, the fight for control, truth, and justice was never truly finished. And somewhere, deep down, I knew I wasn't ready to stop. The video sent chills down my spine. Every move I'd made, every decision at TrueSkin, it was all captured. And the mysterious sender? Anonymous. No email, no signature, nothing. Just a simple, ominous, "You think it's over?" If you're watching this and feeling the tension, make sure to like and subscribe, because this is the moment it all comes full circle. I didn't panic. I had survived Ethan, Sierra, betrayal, and sabotage. This was just another test. I called my most trusted legal advisor and cybersecurity team immediately. They traced the source of the video. To my shock, it wasn't Sierra. It wasn't anyone I expected. It was someone from my own early team, someone I had trusted implicitly during the first months of TrueSkin. The betrayal cut deep. It wasn't personal anymore. It was about power, jealousy, and fear of being overshadowed. I confronted him in person at the TrueSkin headquarters. He stood there trying to act casual, but the fear in his eyes gave him away. "I thought you were going to fail," he said, almost defensively. "You've taken everything too fast, too soon. Someone needed to remind you how fragile it all is." I looked at him, calm but fierce. "Do you really think fear can stop me? You underestimated me, just like everyone else. And look where that got them." He stammered, but I didn't give him a chance to argue. "You will resign immediately. All footage, files, and materials are to be returned. Any attempts to manipulate or threaten TrueSkin again, and legal action will follow, worldwide." He nodded, beaten, and left without another word. That night, I sat alone in my office, reflecting on everything. Ethan, Sierra, betrayal, sabotage, triumph. I realized that all the pain, humiliation, and heartbreak had shaped me into someone stronger than I could have imagined. The truth? Revenge wasn't about making others suffer. It was about taking control of your own life, reclaiming your story, and proving that no one else defines your worth. TrueSkin thrived more than ever after that. The brand became a symbol of empowerment, honesty, and resilience. The headlines now read, "From humiliation to triumph, Alina Perez revolutionizes beauty industry." And for the people who once said I wasn't pretty enough, I smiled whenever I saw their names, because the girl they dismissed, the one they tried to break, was now the woman who not only survived, but dominated. I stood in front of the mirror one last time. No makeup, no filters, just me. And finally, I whispered to myself, "You were always enough. And now, everyone knows it." The past was gone. The betrayal was gone. The only thing left was the future. And it was mine. The end.